Hello, my name is Jim Hutchins, and this is Health Sciences 1110 Biomedical Core. This is a two-semester course, but Health Sciences 1110 is the first semester of that two-semester course. First semester is 1110, second semester is 1111. As I go through the organization of the course, which I'm going to mix in with the organization of the human body in the first series that we have here, then I'll go through both semesters, but just understand that what we're calling modules, which are the units that we break the course up into, that modules 1 through 10 are in the first semester, Health Sciences 1110, and modules 11 through 20 are in the second semester, Health Sciences 1111. We're going to start with an examination of the definitions of anatomy and physiology. As I mentioned, the course is broken up into 10 modules per semester, so that means that in a 14 or 15-week semester that each module is about 1.5 weeks long on average. Some modules last about a week, some modules last 2 weeks, but the average is about a week and a half. Each one of the modules is broken up into specific learning goals that we call objectives, and so each module has between 20 and 40 objectives. The objectives are what we use to write the exam questions, and so if you study the objective and you understand the objective, then you can do well on the exams, which after all is everyone's goal. This first module has a fairly long full title. It's called Body Plan and Organization, Homeostasis, Disease, a Disruption in Homeostasis, and the measurement systems and calculations used for the human body. Basically, we're just getting everything warmed up to give you the underlying fundamental information that you need to get through the rest of the course. So we're going to start with body plan and organization. Objective 1 is to state the definition of anatomy and of physiology. So the definitions are given here, and also what I've done is I've broken down the words and looked at their Greek roots. If you can transliterate, if you can move across the Greek symbols into English or the Roman alphabet, if you will, then this is ana, which means on, up, backwards, through, towards, and tumi, which means cutting. And so we can think of anatomy as cutting backwards. There are other translations that are possible, but I prefer the translation of anatomy as cutting backwards, or putting things back together from slices. We'll see a little bit later on in this module what the slices look like, and then our request of you as a student is to be able to take those slices and put them back together into 3 dimensions. This is something that a lot of people really struggle with, and all I can say about that is it's like the old joke about how do you get to Carnegie Hall, and the answer is practice, practice, practice. So how do you learn to reconstruct slices into 3 dimensions? In other words, how do you learn anatomy? And the answer is to practice, practice, practice. We'll start on that practice a little bit later on in this first module. And then we also have mixed in this course the study of function, which is called physiology. That comes from physios, which is the Greek word for nature, and then logos, which is study. So the study of nature or the study of function is called physiology in English. And in our course, we're going to use homeostasis as the basis for physiology. Homeostasis is a fancy word we'll define a little bit later on in some detail, but right now all you need to know is homeostasis is the word that we use for the systems that keep the body in balance. Well, the very first thing that I want to tell you about, and it's actually the most fundamental concept in this entire course, and what our entire course is built upon, is that structure and function are intimately interrelated. We cannot separate structure from function. They're complementary to each other. Structure determines what's possible in the function, and structure also designs the functions that come out of that particular structure. On the other hand, function influences the size and shape and action and reaction of the structure. So Structure determines function, function determines structure. The two can't be separated from one another. You see that in the organization of this course. We don't have a separate course or separate parts of modules where we talk about structure for a while and then we talk about function for a while. What we tend to do in this course and mixed throughout the entire course is a study of structure and then function and then structure and then function and then and so on and so forth. So our first example that we'll look at is from the liver. The liver is part of the digestive system, not covered until Module 18, so it comes along at a fairly late point in the second semester of this course. For that reason, I've removed the labels from this diagram because I don't want you to focus on the names of things. We'll get to that later on, and you'll need to learn the names of things. And I don't want you to focus on the specific function of the liver. We'll get into that as well. But what I do want you to know is that the liver is a structure, and we can see that structure here at several different levels. We can see the entire liver at upper left. We can see a functional unit at lower left, and then at the right is a microscopic view where we're actually looking at the individual cells and blood vessels that make up the liver. So the liver has the function of filtering blood and producing bile. And it asks, can you see how the function is determined by the structure and vice versa? Well, in case you're not seeing that, let me take you through a little bit of it. You notice that, like in all anatomical diagrams, we have oxygenated blood shown as being carried by red vessels, and deoxygenated blood is carried in blue vessels in these diagrams. That's a standard sort of way. We've got some arrows that the artist has drawn in here, and the arrows show you the direction that blood is moving through. So deoxygenated blood, it turns out, is coming from the digestive system, which is what makes the liver part of the digestive system. It's receiving deoxygenated blood, and that deoxygenated blood is running through this filter system shown by the passage of the blood with these arrows, and then it's being drained back to the heart through a vessel that we'll name a little bit later on in this module. And so that filtering process begins in the blue vessel at right in this diagram, and the product ends up in the blue vessel at left in this diagram. So that shows you the filtering system. The bile production system is also part of that filtering system. The liver produces a substance called bile. Turns out that the green cells that we see here are the cells that are producing the bile. And so bile is made, and eventually we'll find out that it's stored and released upon demand into the digestive system. Bile is made by these green cells. It runs through these little channels that are shown as a green network and ends up in a storage container that we won't name right now. And upon demand, that storage container releases bile into the digestive system, which also makes the liver part of the digestive system once again.